AskReddit by Senor Diablo. What is an old expression that you think is absolutely disgusting by today's standards? My mother-in-law, who is absolutely not racist at all, used to call Brazil nuts N-word toes, until my wife and her sister, probably aged 7 and 5, expressed their dismay. It was just what small town Canadian prairie farm people called them back in the day. To her credit, after being confronted by her daughters and reflecting on it, she was horrified and never used the expression again. My mother used to call Brazil nuts that as well. She was from rural Michigan. If he bullies you, that means he likes you. I was told this in the first grade when a boy sitting next to me kept kicking me and pinching my arm hard enough to leave an almost black bruise. Teacher kept trying to pass it off as flirting. My mom had to come down to the school and talk to the principal just to get my seat moved so I wouldn't be attacked every day in class. It was crazy. For me it's definitely old enough to bleed, old enough to breed. I heard people say that so much when I was younger. I'm 43 for reference. WTF? My first retail job, there was a guy who had decided to fully embrace the creepy old man vibe, near as I could tell largely for shock value. His favorite variation was old enough to be as old enough for me, still ranks in the top 3 most unsettling phrases I've ever heard 22 years later. Porch monkey. Are you bringing it back? We used to sing a song when I was little. Daniel Boone was a big man. But the bear was bigger, so he ran like an upper tree. Until my dad, who I am sure I learned it from, told me I couldn't sing that in public anymore. In public, lol, oh dad. My mother-in-law once asked a flea market vendor how much she could chew her down. Bonus. She still refers to Asians as Orientals. I was in my late 20s before I realized people weren't saying chew her down. I understood the phrase was related to lowering a price but didn't know the stereotype of Jewish people being cheap. Sigh. So much work just to be an ass to others. You know, starving kids in Africa would be so grateful to eat that. But for with that manipulation and shame. Oh my god. My cousin, probably 7 at the time, just deadpanned, well you can send it to them then. He was grounded for a while. We're fucking this horse, you just hold its head down. When someone gets in the way of someone who actually knows how to do a task. I've always heard I'm fucking this dog, you just hold the tail. Eeny meeny miny mo. Catch her and by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny meeny miny mo. Now changed to tiger, I believe. 1815 original recorded words. Hannah, man, Mona, Mike. Barcelona, Bonner, strike. Hair, wear, frown, Vanak. Hiriko, Wiriko, Weewo, whack. Some theories it dates back to Old English or Old Welsh. He's just sowing his wild oats. It literally means planting seed everywhere. After my grandfather died, my grandmother started talking kind of fast and loose about his reputation before he married her. One day I was telling her I was trying to get pregnant with my second child, and it wasn't as easy in your late 30s. She replied that even though our family appears to be fertile, she had 4 brothers, she had trouble getting pregnant the second time with my mom, and my grandfather apparently decided to act frustrated about it with her. She was the smarter one of the 2 of them, so when he tried to suggest them not conceiving was her fault, she told me she smarted back that before her, he'd been tomcatting and sowing his oats all over town, and she'd never heard of any of those oats sprouting, so maybe he was the problem. For the early 1950s, it was a pretty slick burn, on both his former promiscuity and his manliness, all at once. He won't buy the cow if he can get the milk for free lol. Why go out for milk when you have a cow at home? Here in Germany there are candy that meanwhile are called Schokokuss, chocolate kisses, but for some reason, in the past everyone told them Kuss, kisses, and a lot of old people still use that term. Money shot used to be a single shot of a movie that was either expensive, impressive, or both. Now it's too associated with a pornographic cum shot to use in mixed company. What used to be called money shots are also much less expensive now. To get a wide aerial shot of the whole area, you needed both a large empty area and a crewed helicopter to film it. Both very expensive. Now, you just need a drone and some CGI to erase the people and buildings from an area. If there's grass on the wicket, let's play cricket, and if her age is on the clock, she's ready for the cock. I heard both of these phrases growing up as a teenager. I always found the latter problematic, but it wasn't until I reached 18 or 19 that I met the kind of person who uses the former expression. So that means there used to be a licorice candy shaped like a little baby. My mother-in-law called them N-word babies. Then times changed and it wasn't socially acceptable to use the N-word anymore, and she said she had the hardest time asking for them at the local candy shop without saying it. I just looked at her like, what's so hard about just saying licorice babies? Why can't I say anything anymore? Don't you mean, why did I grow up saying so many racist things? I jewed him down. There was a Family Guy episode where Peter was pretending to be Jewish, maybe to get more holidays off. I don't recall, but at one point he used the phrase "I asked him down." I used to hear people say keep your cotton picking hands off of that. Can't believe it now. I always heard wait a cotton picking minute and never understood what the hell it meant. Not absolutely disgusting, but the devil beating his wife to mean raining while sunny. I had never heard this until I met my best friend. I was so confused. I was born in the late 60s and these are some gems from the day. Sitting crisscross applesauce used to be Indian style. Ding dong, that used to be N knocking. Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these. The Chinese, Japanese portions were typically accompanied by changing the slant of the eyes using your index fingers. I'm not American, so crisscross applesauce is the strangest expression to me. We just call it sitting cross-legged. Sometimes I get the theme song to the old Little Lulu cartoon stuck in my head. I have a tattoo of her on my forearm. It's a cute little song about her mischievous ways, and ends with the "You're wild as any Zulu and you're just as hard to tame. Little Lulu, we love you Lou just the same." Growing up, I didn't think anything of that, or of adults saying we kids were running around like wild Indians. Boys will be boys. That phrase went from describing boys throwing mud clods at each other for fun to being sexual predators, and I hate it. I guess you can say kids will be kids now for the same effect. Carrying on like a pork chop is often said a lot here in Australia. The full idiom is carrying on like a pork chop in a synagogue. It's not commonly known, the full thing. I'm Jewish and I think this is hilarious and not offensive at all. If she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to breed. Blowing your wad used to mean spending all your money on something frivolous. I prematurely shot my wad on what was supposed to be a dry run, if you will, so now I'm afraid I have something of a mess on my hands. Let's open the kimono. Wait, I've never heard this before and I'm an old. Who said that, and what the heck is it supposed to mean?